This is another episode of the Bury Weird podcast. I'm your main host, Alex. Call me Burry J or Burry. I will be the solo speaker for this episode. This episode is about social media trends and real life topics because people respond to this a lot on social media. I will be bringing up real life things in this episode. I want to welcome the new listeners that are listening to this podcast for the first time. Let me shout out to the current listeners following this podcast. I appreciate you guys riding with me. I'm not giving people advice. I just want to add that disclaimer right here. This episode is about a subreddit. It is called Ask Subreddit. I'm sorry, Ask Reddit. This is what the episode will be about. I will be reading the questions, then I will answer them. I will insert my own answers in some questions, then I'm going to go deep with my own answers. I'm not going to come up with my own answers in all questions I read. In other words, I'm not going to add my own answers in all of the questions I read. I will read some answers depending on the questions I'm reading. I will be reading 4 or 5 questions in this episode. That is what I will be reading in this episode. I will read the first question. It is what was ruined caused too many people started doing it. This is actually a great question. I want to say the hotels and Airbnb, modern technology has taken over the auto industry. It is common in main car brands, especially Teslas. The taxi industry changed because of Uber and Lyft. That includes other third party car services. Grocery and meal delivery services also took over the market. Hey, they're still in competition. And I also want to mention making quick money on social media is still a thing in a bad way. Let's talk about Airbnb. The housing market got expensive when it comes to Airbnb. I consider it to be a downside. People may want to sleep over at rental homes where the backyard looks nice or the inside of the home looks completely fancy. My question is, what are you looking for that you expect to afford? Are you looking for the kitchen to have marble counters? Are you looking for a house where all bathrooms are redesigned in 2020, not the 1990s? I guess people love modern interior designs today. I realize that hotels are getting cheaper than rental homes, including vacation homes. Airbnb is getting popular. The real reason why Airbnb got expensive over the years is that people profit off of rent. People make a full-time income from running a rental business. I understand that you have to make your money. I'm not the one to hate. Rental homes in main cities are very expensive. I can imagine what their property tax rates are. I also found out how people are profiting off of property that do not belong to them. In other words, they do not own them at all. This is the issue I have with people profiting off of property they do not own. If I was a landlord, I personally would not be okay with it because I need to eat and I'm not going to be homeless. These people need to pay debts because they borrowed loans. If someone were to profit off of rent from a house they own, then they need to pay their mortgages. Mortgages are not cheap. Being offered money to pay mortgages is not free money. Why do people pretend that loans don't exist? This pandemic has gotten the best out of the Airbnb industry. That's very sad. I read the article from Forbes. The article was called How Airbnb Survived the Pandemic and How You Can Too. Let's not forget that there are pros and cons with hotels and rental vacation homes. As far as I checked, hotels are getting cheaper. You don't have to be stuck in a hotel all the time. I mean, small space. In an Airbnb, you don't have to pay extra to eat foods that are served in hotels. You don't have to worry about eating foods you can't eat because you may have a chronic condition where certain foods make your condition worse, or you have allergies. I'm not giving medical advice. You don't have to worry about allergies when you're in Airbnb. I feel that most people prefer Airbnb over hotels. I want to read what is said in the Forbes article, which I mentioned earlier. It says Airbnb has come back from the brink mere months after the COVID 19 pandemic caused its bookings to drop over 70% and cut in half its valuation. By April, the gross bookings for nights and experiences plunged by 72% on a year over year basis. In fact, from March to April, there are more cancellations than bookings. An automated vehicle. Let's get on to the new cars with technology. Lots of people are driving Teslas. I mean, not everyone trusts cars with automation systems. So far, I heard stories about how people get into car accidents when they drive cars. That includes Teslas. I am for new cars with modern features. I know that some people don't trust it. I think that the issue with people using it is it's whether or not people are attentive drivers or not. This reminds me of several incidents where people got into multiple car accidents driving a Tesla. It has something to do with not being an attentive driver. It could have been someone sleeping while driving. As far as I know, Tesla made it clear that you can use automatic features such as autopilot if you will be an attentive driver, someone that pays attention while driving. Automatic navigation systems, automatic braking. I'm not saying that these features are perfect. I don't drive at all. Common automatic features are in regular car brands and luxury car brands. I know that several people don't trust features that are automatic. I think that the main features that I would rely on are the park assist, the lane assist, the GPS pre-installed in the vehicle, that includes the navigation system. I don't want to sound greedy. I'm not knocking down people for liking a particular car brand. I'm not knocking people for using their hard earned money to buy something that they extremely wanted, buying a car from a particular brand. If I wanted to buy a new vehicle, it would be the Range Rover Sport, either the SVR, the Autobiography, or the HSE Dynamic. I'm talking about these type of models as if they are new in the year we are in right now. I mean the current year. I'm into SUVs. That never changed. Food deliveries are very common. Grocery deliveries are very common. We have Instacart, Postmates, Grubhub, DoorDash, Uber Eats, Seamless, and Eat24. Another reason would be if you're too inactive to make your own lunch. There are people who do not trust it. What if you were in a rush and you have to go somewhere, like going to work, for example, or going to school? I only use it when I need to, but not that much. I think that the main downside is personal because there have been reports where delivery people mess up people's meals while delivering it. I find that very disgusting. I can see that several people do not trust it when it comes to people delivering meals. It's been reported that lots of people have been using grocery deliveries. I don't eat out as much as I used to. I don't pick up food on a takeout very often. I don't eat lots of food from takeout on most days. I would eat it every Saturday, specifically Vietnamese food. I actually love Vietnamese food. That's what I crave for every week. Let's talk about quick money on social media. This is the part that makes me mad because people are obsessed with benefiting themselves. That's what I care about. It looks appealing to participate pictures of pretty people swimming in money, for example, appealing headlines such as double or triple your $20 investment in minutes. I can't respect people who accept stolen money or fraudulent money. There are people who will promote flipping money and the result is getting thousands of stacks if you pay a lower fee to someone. I heard stories where people get scammed. It's common for people to not trust strangers in general because people promote these types of illegal business practices. At the end of the day, never speak to a stranger on social media if they have questionable intentions. It's also common on Facebook and Craigslist. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Money flipping scams have been around forever, even though they may have different variations. They all kind of work the same. I remember reports of scams on Craigslist. At some point in time, it has been reported that there were several scams on eBay before. eBay changed their policies to protect customers from purchasing items so they would be protected from theft. People need to learn it's unrealistic because there is no quick, legitimate way to earn money. It's shady and illegal. Unfortunately, like I said, it can cost you dearly. How much you lose depends on how much money you chime in. It's unrealistic to make money on social media. It ruins the purpose of interacting with people on social media. It's disrespectful. There's no such thing as free money. You can't find free money on the ground. Never give out your personal or financial information to a request online or on the phone. If it appears to be a company you know, sign off or hang up and contact them using a verified number, but still, never give any strangers your money, no matter how long you spoke to that person, especially if their intentions are suspicious. I want to talk about Uber and Lyft. This is the good side of Uber and Lyft. You get to go on a car ride in an instant. You don't have to book for a car ride, let's say a week earlier. It could be a day early. You don't have to call in order to have a car ride. People just book taxi rides at the last minute. It does not matter if you're in your friend's house, airport, or the hotel. It could be anywhere. It could be on school property, including university property. I was in an Uber and Lyft when I was alone. I'm not gonna lie, many rides that I had were very pleasant. I think it's a lot better than taking public transportation. I feel safe going on Uber and Lyft. When you're on public transportation, it takes a while for your ride to come. You have to get where you're at. I remember taking public transportation when I was in high school. There are some instances where I had someone pick me up to go to school and get back home from school for good reasons. This was not an Uber or Lyft situation. I'm thankful for the people that I know. There are good sides of it. There are downsides of using both Uber and Lyft as well as using public transportation. That is frustrating. It's annoying. I had to go somewhere for my appointments. I went to jury duty at one point in time when I was on Uber. Still, Uber and Lyft are expensive. I would use it if I was late somewhere. That happened to me several times. I would not use Uber or Lyft if I was traveling somewhere for more than 1 hour. That is long. The longer you travel somewhere, the more expensive the ride is, whether you use Uber or Lyft. The cost is the main downside of it. I use Uber and Lyft when I need to. The good thing is that you can cancel the ride for the last minute. You can get your full refund. I had the experience to get a full refund and it was not bad at all. I don't know everything about working for Uber or Lyft. I learned that you must carry insurance when you have a vehicle. You can't travel anywhere you want. The pay can be unstable. I heard stories about it. I would not want to work for them. New vehicles are very expensive. This is the blog that I'm reading, and that person must have experience driving for Uber. I believe it's the same for Lyft. The terms of service can and do change frequently with Uber and Lyft. When you become a driver for Uber and Lyft, then you must stay up to date on all of the terms and conditions which govern your agreement. There are plenty of rules that cover the bonuses, fees, and fares that occur with every ride, and those rules can change at any moment. If you're not constantly reviewing the updates that come through, then you could find yourself in violation of the rules unintentionally and losing your ability to serve as a driver through the app. I had a conversation with an Uber driver. It was about how, if you don't own a vehicle, then it could be rented for you for some reason, and it's possible to drive a vehicle if you don't own one. And continue to the blog. Most of the drivers who work for Uber or Lyft will conform to the pricing schedules that the companies use in their cities because that's how they can make the most money. Uber and Lyft want you to drive at specific times because the fares are too low outside of the high cost windows. That means your schedule is going to be something closer to, for example, 7 to 11 a.m. and 3 to 8 p.m. every day. Well, that is very, very hard. Continuing onto the blog, drivers are responsible for all of the costs of this service. Although driving for Uber and Lyft does provide you with a lot of flexibility for your schedule, it comes at a price that might be too high for some individuals. You are responsible for all of the cost that you encounter while providing this car service to your community. That means you are responsible for the car payments, rental costs, or lease which is necessary for you to start driving in the first place. You will be paying for your automotive insurance, which may be higher because you're transporting customers. If you need to clean the vehicle or purchase fuel, then that comes out of your paycheck as well. Uber and Lyft retain control over your compensation in every facet. That means if you're sick and cannot get to work, then there are no income protections in place for you. Should you be in an accident while driving, then there are no protections in place. Well, I'm glad that Uber and Lyft exist because we need drivers. It will not happen without them. I'm not knocking anyone for driving for Uber and Lyft. I'm saying that driving for Uber and Lyft is not the right job for me. And I feel that the workplace for both Uber and Lyft needs to be fair. Let's go over another answer. I did not come up with this answer, it was on Reddit. It is job searching and applying for jobs on the internet. I heard stories where people apply to 100 jobs and never got a call. I have been in that same predicament where I applied to other jobs while I was in high school. However, I never got a call back at all. I will say that I worked at one point in time after high school. My job was not the best at all. I had to quit for a reason. I have been in that position where I had to look for retail jobs, let alone food restaurant jobs. That was very difficult. People are very lucky to work, for example, at McDonald's, Chipotle, Burger King, and other fast food places. I know people who worked at Modell's and American Eagle, let alone Target. There are times where I have been discouraged because there are requirements that I did not meet at all. It was very difficult. I like that job searching has been a lot easier because you can apply jobs on the internet. At the same time, I know that I have been discouraged. My thing is, have these job descriptions been modified? Some of these job descriptions need to be edited, not outdated. There are some jobs that I found which were suitable for high school students. When I read the requirements sections on Indeed and other job searching sites, it said that it required work experience. My thought was, I just don't want to work there at all. It quickly turned into professional merchants selling at prices often higher than Amazon. My thing is that selling on these marketplace platforms has been very common. I rely on Amazon because they have lots of deals. The good thing is that you get free shipping. I feel that there are downsides when people shop on marketplaces, Amazon and eBay at cheap prices. So this is another answer that I did not come up with at all. It is eBay and Amazon. Someone said used to be people selling their basement things. People can make a full-time income in running a business on eBay and Amazon. What is bad is that you have to pay on Amazon to run a full-time business. Purchases shipped to you quickly. Expect express shipping if you ordered on the same day. In order to have you would pay some type of subscription if you don't have to wait 5 to 7 days to get your purchases shipped on time. That is the part that sucks. I can't afford to pay Amazon Prime. And it's common on eBay. It's because you take your business to the next level. Another downside is that you cannot. I am on the second question. It's what it includes looking down on people based on a career people have, to believe that college is for everyone, the height of being short, to have the latest or cheap, expensive items, and being an introvert. Looking down on people's career title, I just want to talk about that part. This is the part that I can't tolerate, and no one has to deal with this, depending on who is treating you in a negative way. It's not my job to control what people can and can't do in their life. I never had to judge someone for their occupation because I had a reason to be against it. My issue is that people pursue a career with no passion. They pursue it for the wrong reasons. I can't stand people like that. You can't pursue what career you're passionate about. Your reason and intentions have to make sense. If your intentions does not make sense to pursue something, then don't pursue that career. I know a couple people who are influencers, and some of them do not end up with the same college degrees than their actual full-time job on the internet. I have a problem when people ask the question, what do you do? Things that the fan, when that person will say, I'm a YouTuber or a social media influencer, then the person that asked the question will assume one thing when it's not true. If you have outsiders in your life that look down on you because of a hobby you can turn into a full-time job in, then don't be friends with that person. Don't be friends with these types of people. That is a sign of a toxic person. I know my friends who want to pursue a particular career. However, I'm not the type of person to look down on them. If they're happy to pursue their dreams, then I will be completely happy for them. I would be glad if my friends showed that they're happy for me. That is the reaction that I like to see. I know a couple of outsiders who did that stuff to me, and it's very disrespectful. I thought that these people would be my friends. The real reason why people do that is because they're against what you are pursuing, or people cannot handle being in that profession. Maybe they don't like that it's a part of your lifestyle. It seems that people want to control your lifestyle and tell you not to pursue that career. I'm not saying that people who are still my friends did that to me. If that's how these people feel and they think it's convenient to tear you apart, then that's their problem. It's not your problem if someone is talking down to you. I was like, you're not allowed in my life, you're not being supportive. If that's how you feel, then don't worry about what I'm doing in my life, and you're not going to see me again. If you don't like it, don't expect an update from me because I have a right not to speak to you about my dreams. I don't have to owe you an explanation on what I'm doing. At the end of the day, I'm not giving you the opportunity to celebrate with me for establishing a career. That's low enough. I want to go over the subject that college is not right for everyone. Not everyone has to go to college because it depends on what people want to do. I'm not putting influencers on a pedestal There are well-known influencers such as singers, actors, commentators, gamers, vloggers, and who have a successful career with notoriety and never had a college degree. I know people who went to beauty school. I know people who got a license for eyelashes, eyebrows, and doing nails. I also want to bring up laser procedures and massaging. They are also careers. I know a couple people who want to pursue a barber career. They cut hair or style the hair. They pursue their makeup career. I know a couple of people who realized that college was not right for them. For example, I know one person who went to university as a freshman, and after the one semester, he dropped out and went to pursue a career as an electrician. He went to trade school. He is doing well and he is less stressed, which is good. I would not knock anyone for not going to college, especially because they don't know what they want to do or they just can't afford it. Still, college is expensive. What can anyone do? Let me jump right into the difference between an introvert and an extrovert. I'm in the middle. I'm considered an ambivert. In case you do not know what an ambivert is, it's someone whose personality has a balance of extrovert and introvert features. Introverts are people who are used to having internal thoughts. They are described to be very reserved and quiet. Extroverts are described to be outgoing, open minded, and engaged in social interaction. I don't easily take people in my life. I don't have a problem with meeting new people. I have a small circle, so I'm completely fine with it. I'm still weary of people in my surroundings. I'm good at talking to people. I love meeting new people depending where I'm at. I usually love discussing stories with people and new ideas, maybe contribute to several conversations. Being an introvert does not mean that I'm not good at talking to people. It does not mean that I have to stay quiet as an introvert. People I know used to look at me as an introvert. This is the part that is real. I don't want too many friends in my life. What I learned is that having too many friends can ruin your social life. It's better to have the right amount of friends in your life. You can trust them. Yes, introverts know how to socialize and make friends. They are very observant. I'm that way too. I'm not saying that we cannot make friends just because people are very introverted. They are very quiet and reserved. I'm not saying that extroverts can make friends than introverts because they are very outgoing in social situations. Being an extrovert does not mean you're required to be super open with people. There's nothing wrong with having something in common with people. I want to go over the idea of being short. My thoughts are that I don't have a problem with short people, and I don't know why people have something against those who are short. Do you have a problem with it? I know this is common in the modeling industry where short people are limited off of modeling job opportunities. I have never worked in a modeling agency, so I don't know everything. I still feel that it happens, but there are petite models that made it big. As far as I know, there are modeling agencies that work with petite models. I don't know the names. I can't speak for every modeling agency that works with petite models. I have been doing my research on why there are no petite models in the modeling industry or why people are against it. Most designers are not used to working with petite models. Most designers feel that their clothes fit better with tall people. In other words, they are saying that it looks better on tall models, it fits well with them. Where short people are considered the ugly types, I thought it's an outdated belief. It's very clear that most designers are very prejudiced against short people. I also agree that it's backwards thinking. I still believe that petite models have the opportunity to be in the modeling industry so they can make it big. I'm not saying that I dislike tall models. I know one person who is a tall model. Let's list the petite models who made it big. Amina Blue, she's the one who walked for Kanye's Yeezy every single season. She stands at 5'1". There's Lily Rose Depp, who the height requirements is what causes limitations to modeling job opportunities. I'm glad that there are petite models breaking the stereotype of heights in the modeling industry. I also believe that there are designers who would like to work with petite models. I remember the show America's Top Model. I don't know how many petite models were casted in America's Top Model. The short high standards are common in the sporting Olympic industry. Swimmers come in all shapes and sizes, as far as I know. I learned that tall swimmers have an advantage because they are described to be fast at swimming. Certain body characteristics are also preferable, and I remembered watching the Olympics on my TV screen and seeing swimmers, and I also believe that short people can make it in the swimming Olympic industry, and I never thought about the height requirements in swimming. I was like, why won't short people make it in the swimming Olympic industry? One of the main advantages for tall swimmers are having long legs and long arms. That is one of the main reasons why tall swimmers are preferable. This also pertains to the basketball athletic industry. I always see nothing but tall basketball players. That was my perception when I was younger because I watched basketball games on my TV screen. Not all of them have to be super tall. Defeated the purpose on social media. Flossing has gotten to people's heads. It's not always necessary. While I'm on the second question, I also want to talk about the whole keeping up with the latest trends and feeling ashamed for not keeping up with the latest and that. It's very common that people love iPhones, including Apple products. I'm not knocking people for this. I feel that people forget this. Apple products are very expensive. Having a brand new iPhone with 512 gigabytes can cost, let's say, $1,300. It is a lot of storage. Storage is very expensive. I know people who have an iPhone with 256 gigabytes. I know people who prefer to buy Google smartphones. I know some people who are against iPhones and Apple products for some reason, and I still have an iPhone and it works fine, but it's not completely new. Speaking of keeping up with the latest trends, I want to bring up having luxury items. I see people who floss on Instagram. I will talk about it in another episode sooner or later. My main thing is that these luxury brands are staying alive because of these people. These luxury brands took out business loans, but these people helped them pay it off, especially during the pandemic. I blame social media for allowing people to floss with the latest and that. The point of social media is to socialize with other people, but flossing has the what else? People are always flossing with the latest items for the wrong reasons. People are always posting on Instagram sitting in front of their, for example, luxury cars, the Lamborghinis and the Rolls Royce, let alone the Ferraris. How many people are wearing Gucci t-shirts and Yeezy sneakers? I bet half of these people on social media cannot afford it because it's so expensive. I will be taking a break. Be right back. I'm back. The third question is, what is clearly a scam, but Americans have been conditioned to believe that it's normal? I'm going to say poor people paying higher taxes and rich people paying low taxes, paying premiums for your health insurance, and it's normal to take out student loans. I'm not going to be political about it. There's no reason to be political about it. Stop the pharmaceutical industry from ripping off the American people by making sure that no one in America pays over, let's say, $200 a year for the medicine they need by private health insurance is expensive. In this country, there are people who are on Medicaid. I don't want Medicaid to go away. There are the elderly people who are on Medicare. In case people do not know a lot about Medicare for All, it does not exist in the USA yet. It is a single payer national healthcare system. In the system, everyone has a chance to healthcare. You will still have healthcare no matter how many times you change your health insurances. This is the type of national health insurance program to provide everyone in America with comprehensive healthcare coverage throughout the point of service. So there are no networks, no premiums, no deductibles, no copays, and no surprise bills. Medicare coverage will be expanded and improved to include what? Dental, hearing, vision, and home and community-based long-term care, inpatient and outpatient services, mental health and substance abuse, treatment, reproductive and maternity care, prescription drugs, and more. I said that it would be nice to have that system in this country. It would be nice to capping what Americans pay for prescription drugs under the Medicare for All. It effectively controls costs and ensures that everyone has equal access to an excellent standard of care. I get tired of paying copays because it's a ripoff. Copays should not exist anymore. In my current health insurance, there are copays, but they're not high at all. I don't need lots of surgical procedures in my life, and I went through a couple of them. Like, I didn't have to pay for my prescription at all. This is no means to overgeneralize. I learned that there are several countries in Europe where their healthcare systems are stabilized, not all. It's not perfect. I'm not currently feeling our healthcare system, even though I'm not paying a lot. Having health insurance is treated to be a privilege in the US. There are millions of people who are underinsured or uninsured. That's the part that's reported. It's sad. At the end of the day, it's a right. It needs to be a right for every single person in this country because it's expensive. I consider it to be a scam because we read what things are covered from our health insurance company, but we fall into the impression that things that are covered are expected to be fully paid by our health insurance. However, certain things fall into what is covered are not actually covered. That's what I have an issue with. I have been through this before and it's not a nice thing to go through. The problem that I have is that if you're someone that is working in a particular profession, not as self employed, you would have to get your health insurance through your employer. It can either be government health insurance or private insurance. I'm assuming that you can't choose. I know that because I know a couple of people who have health insurance through their employers and their job pays for it. However, I know that most people can't afford to be without their employers. I want to talk about the student loan crisis. It's been a national discussion. Millions of people are in debt if people were in either grad school, pharmacy school, and med school. Their tuition is very expensive, as far as I know. There are health practitioners who need to pay their student loans, and I know several people who are in debt because they're either in med school or grad school, let alone a private school. They are still in debt. Students from low income families have the right to get an education without taking out extra loans to pay for their education. I believe in scholarships and lots of grant money more than student loans. I don't think that's fair for students from low income brackets specifically to take out loans and they may not be able to pay it back in the future. I believe that poor students and students who are at a disadvantage should have free tuition and free housing. They don't need to have student loans and pay it back, and I believe that there should be a solution for people if they're not able to pay their student loans because they're either laid off or they are unemployed after graduating from school. The part that is disturbing is that at this point, national student loan debt has way exceeded credit card debt by over $800 billion. That is what's being reported. Student loan debt has seen almost 130% growth since the Great Recession and is the fast growing portion of total household debt in the US. There are currently about 44 million student loan borrowers in this country. That is what I read from the Dave Ramsey article. Public policies. I also want to bring up about paying taxes, the gap between the rich and the poor. That includes the middle class. The tax gap between the rich and the poor is a major thing when it comes to the scams. It makes the system look very greedy. I heard this type of argument, which is ridiculous. I heard that advocates of low taxes argue that slashing rates on the rich and corporations boost economic growth. I consider it to be a weak argument because low taxes for the rich does not benefit the economy. However, it's confirmed that there's little evidence for that. Instead, the US is facing, like, let's say, a number of risks by shifting to a more regressive, unfair tax system. The real truth is that rich people paying high taxes boost the economy. The US tax system is creating what they call an equality spiral. In other words, the rich are getting richer. It allows them to extract further tax breaks and other benefits, boosting their wealth and political clout. They want to be too comfortable not paying high tax dollars. Why do you need extra benefits from the system? You're not poor at all. It's not like you're going to be homeless. It's not like you're going to be homeless. You don't need it. This kind of crisis hurts every single person that is poor and part of the middle class. I feel that this should not be debatable. This system needs to change. I would be damned if I have to pay high tax dollars if I was a middle class. When I am a middle class, I still stand by it, especially if I was poor, let's say 5 years later or more. It would be hypocritical if rich people who were born rich would be on the person's shoes for being poor and having to work for their entire lives when they have not struggled at all. They don't know, having clean water, housing, including rent and mortgages, public schools, infrastructure, clean landscape, public universities, helping poor students go to college so that they don't have to take out loans, helping low income families live, help the retirees, help teachers, help people pay their medical bills, etc. What about growing trees and daycare? Maybe help the small businesses that actually need it, not major corporations. Those things can help the unions. No offense, I can care less about private schools. I never attended a private school. I'm glad that I did not because it's expensive. They are very independent. If I was rich, then I would support the idea to tax the rich. So those tax dollars help the poor people and the economy. Rich people have more money It's unfair to the poor people and the working class. It helps society for the government to tax the rich. Most people agree that the rich should be taxed and pay more taxes. It would be unfair if poor people pay the same tax rate as the rich people. For one, the federal government is losing out on a massive amount of tax revenue by slashing levies on the rich. Secondly, that lost revenue must, be found somewhere, which means the middle class and poor are likely to be stuck footing the bill or have trouble with the bill. I want the tax dollars to go towards fixing freeways. Imagine someone was driving and someone's wheels were popped because of a simple crack. There needs to be a fix. Like, why can't the money go to fixing roads and freeways? We need that stuff now. I'm on the fourth question. This is also a good question. It is, what gets worse? This is real. I'm gonna say you can damage your own relationships and friendships when you lose or forget what is actually important in your life. I want to mention that money can change in relationships in so many ways because money gets to their heads. This question makes me angry because I'm sure that most people are familiar with this type of stuff. I'm sure that there are people who went through this before. Don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with helping people, there's nothing wrong with having lots of money. I feel that there are false myths that get to their heads about being rich. When people are friends with you for money, it's because they enjoy the benefit. They enjoy the benefit of needing someone so that they don't have to fulfill their own needs themselves. I look at it to be relying on someone to fulfill their needs for you. Not because they care about the friendship, they look out for themselves and not for other people. They don't care to know what people need. They care about themselves. They're using you as an alternative to fulfill their financial needs. They treat you like a vending machine. When people ask too much and they don't owe you in return, then they are not your friends. I know people who did something like this because of money. Chances are they're not going to help you if they keep using you for money. People forget about their real friendships. I mean the value of friendships. That is what I have an issue with. People have real friends in their life. They have their family in their life. You never know if people want you for money. I guess having too much money can ruin your friendships because they are obsessed with your economic status of being rich. It depends on who is in your life and what their intentions are. Let's not forget that people can use you for money because you have more money than your friends. Convenient friendships have lots of bad truths in it because especially when you have money, having lots of money has downsides. That's not a real friendship. That's not a genuine friendship. If I was rich, I would have the ability to care and have real friends in my life. I would not give away all of my money away. Let's not forget if you were a parent, you have kids to take care of. I would not want much friends if I cared how much friends I had in my life. Because I want to be popular, then it's not a friendship. Then it's not a friendship. That's very toxic. It's not a friendship if people cared about favoritism. It's basically which of your friends have more money in life. There are people that actually care about you and will look out for you in your life. If money means nothing, then no one would consider money more important than the value of friendships. I also learned that if your life revolves around money, you give money the power to control you and your relationships. Don't be surprised to see how quickly it'll tear you apart. If your friends want to compete with you over money, then it's not a real friendship. Again, I call it jealousy. It's very hard because you don't want to come off as selfish to people. At some point in time, we have to be selfish because people are going to show their true colors. You're going to boot the convenient people out of your life because they are not looking out for you. Most people who use others for money have little to no ability to empathize with people who struggle to put $100 in their checking account at the end of each month. I hate it when people forget these things. Losing empathy can actually damage your own relationships with people over this. It's bad. I am on the last question for this episode. Another question is, what is cheaply made but sold at a ridiculous price? This is a great question. I'm gonna say wallets. Most wallets are expensive because they are made out of high quality material. I guess high quality material is expensive. I have a wallet that is made out of leather. I am in need of a new wallet. I don't need a wallet that is fancy. I don't need a wallet that is too expensive. Maybe a wallet that has high quality. It can be sturdy and secure enough to hold things. You can buy wallets that are affordable. There are wallets that are so expensive I don't have a price range for anyone. In case you ask me, it can be between $30 and $50. I'm not knocking anyone for wanting to buy an expensive wallet. I would not want to buy a wallet that is more than, let's say, $1,000. That's ridiculously expensive. You can make a DIY wallet, but I prefer buying one that has high quality because it's secure. I don't think that it has to be too cheap or too expensive. I'm sure that there are brand names where wallets are not overly expensive. Well, Gucci has some wallets that are expensive. Well, there was a time where I made a DIY wallet and it did not last long because everything fell out of my DIY wallet. I lost nothing, so that's good. After that, I kept on using it. I have second thoughts about it. I think that I regret it now. It was a disaster. If you're someone that needs a wallet, make sure that you save up for a wallet because they're not cheap. I'm not saying that it's a waste of money to buy expensive wallets. Let's go over the answers for the questions. This is what someone wrote on Reddit. One is a lot of flipped houses. Be careful when looking at recently remodeled homes. Most of these are cheap flips with nothing more than some new paint, flooring, and appliances. It becomes apparent when you actually view the house in person and the doors don't close right. The windows are old and everything just feels cheap. So, I mean, I believe that this can happen anywhere, no matter where you want to buy a home. I'm not speaking for all states and countries. I can understand where someone is coming from. I never bought a house before, but I learned lots of things about it. Interior designing is very common, especially when you don't want to hire a contractor right away. However, interior designing comes with lots of cost. There are good reasons why real estate investors are into interior designing. It has something to do with that certain things in the house might break or crack. Certain things are outdated, let's say broken walls, electricity that does not work properly, and cracked floors. I believe that it's the reason why interior designing is becoming prevalent. As much as tutorials work, I will not do the work myself. I will not trust myself to remodel my own home. I don't trust DIYs. People never know what people are doing, and there are certain things that are not safe when it comes to DIYs. I don't find it worth it. I'm not over exaggerating because it depends on what you're doing. I would trust a professional because they have an idea of how to start designing the interior of a home, let alone fixing things that need to be fixed. I feel safe hiring a professional for desiring to remodel my own home. The problem with remodeling is that the value of the home goes up. I understand that remodeling can be an issue for some people. If I wanted to remodel my own home, I would invest it so I can hire contractors and interior designers. I would not want to sell my home that has broken things inside. I want to own a house one day, not an apartment or a condo. I mentioned that it would be a big house from one of the previous episodes. I was told not to hire an inspector and contractor recommended by a realtor for some reason. No one told me about this before. I wish that I would know about this earlier. I found the reasons on why it's not the best idea to hire an inspector recommended by your realtor. I did my research on it. I found out that you can trust your realtor through the home buying process, but not the recommendations of a home inspector. So here it is. I found out that there are home inspectors who are not licensed to do the work. It has something to do with insurance problems on the home. I also learned that there are inspectors who do not put their clients or customers first. I believe that it has something to do with their salary being more important than their customers. I'm still learning about how to buy a home because I don't want to make the same mistakes other people made as a home buyer. I find that very upsetting. I know that home inspections are costly. No one can deny that. Another answer someone wrote is sodium chloride IV bags in hospitals in the US. It costs less than $1 to make, but hospitals can charge over $200 per bag. Wow. I never thought about it, and I don't know everything that goes on in hospitals. I don't work in the healthcare industry at all. That is why I don't know everything. This goes back to the healthcare industry being a ripoff in the US. I figured that bags are expensive. I did not know that IV bags are overly expensive. I wonder why hospitals have to charge people extra money for relying on IV fluid bags. Is it that people's insurance companies don't cover it if people are staying in the hospital overnight or not overnight? If someone is in the hospital for serious reasons, then it needs to be covered. Most people can't afford it. Most people can't pay it on their own. I also learned that one saline bag can cost $800 and other IV fluid bags can cost more than $3,000. I mean, it depends on where the hospital is and what hospital it is. I mean, why does it have to be expensive? My mouth was wide open when I first heard about it. I also wonder which country has IV fluid bags most cheaper than the US. It does not make sense to me. That is all of the questions I have for today. It was very fun but long. Thank you to every single listener for joining me for this episode. I hope that you like this episode. Please follow this podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts if you are a new listener. Please check out this podcast on YouTube and Instagram. It's also available on other listening platforms. I will see you guys later. Stay tuned for the upcoming episodes.